Many gardeners look at their yard in August and think, well, that's it for this year. The tomatoes are slowing down. The cucumber vines look exhausted. Weeds seem to be growing faster than the vegetables. And after months of watering, pruning, and battling pests, the garden can feel like it's already waving goodbye to the season. But here's the surprising truth. For millions of gardeners, August isn't the end of the gardening year. It's the beginning of one of the most productive growing seasons you'll ever have. In fact, some vegetables actually taste better when grown for fall. Others germinate quickly in warm soil and reward you with harvests in just a few weeks. And if you've been staring at empty containers, tired raised beds, or patches of bare soil wondering what to do next, August may be your second chance. Before we dive in, there's one important thing to understand. This is a general August planting guide. What works in Arizona may not work in Maine. Gardeners in USDA Zone 9 have very different opportunities than gardeners in Zone 4. So before planting anything, check your local first frost date and compare it with the days to maturity listed on your seed packets. That's the secret that separates successful fall gardeners from disappointed ones. Let's start with why August deserves more respect. August is one of the most misunderstood months in gardening. Spring gets all the attention, garden centers are packed, seed displays are everywhere. Everyone talks about planting in April and May. But August offers something spring doesn't: warm soil. After months of summer heat, the ground is still holding on to warmth. That means many seeds germinate surprisingly fast. Lettuce that might take 2 weeks in chilly spring soil can sprout much quicker once temperatures become more favorable. There's also something satisfying about giving your garden a second life. Imagine pulling out tired bean plants, cleaning up an old raised bed, adding a little compost, and turning that same space into a fall harvest of kale, spinach, and carrots. And as summer fades, you'll often notice fewer weed problems, cooler working conditions, and less pressure to keep up with constant garden maintenance. Fall gardening can feel calmer. Instead of trying to beat spring rainstorms and unpredictable weather, you're simply working with the natural transition into cooler temperatures. Of course, August isn't perfect. Seedlings can struggle in extreme heat. Soil dries out quickly. Insects are still active, and some cool season vegetables need a little protection during hot afternoons. But if you learn to work with August instead of against it, you'll discover why experienced gardeners rarely leave their beds empty this time of year. Now, let's talk about the most important rule beginners need to understand. If you only remember one thing from this video, make it this: count backward from your first expected frost date. Let's say your first frost usually arrives around November 15th. If a vegetable needs 60 days to mature, and today's date gives you 75 or 80 frost-free days remaining, you're probably in good shape. This simple habit can save you from a lot of disappointment. Seed packets tell you almost everything you need to know. They'll list days to maturity, planting depth, spacing recommendations, and whether the crop prefers cool or warm weather. You'll also notice that some vegetables are better started from seed, while others are often more successful from transplants in August. But there's another challenge. August planting is very different from spring planting. In spring, gardeners worry about cold soil and late frosts. In August, you're dealing with heat. Freshly planted seeds can dry out in hours. Young seedlings may wilt under intense afternoon sun, and pests that have spent all summer multiplying are still hungry. That's why successful August gardeners adjust their strategy. First, water deeply. A light sprinkle isn't enough. You want moisture reaching several inches into the soil so roots grow downward instead of staying near the surface. Second, keep seeds consistently moist. Many fall crops fail simply because gardeners let the seedbed dry out during germination. Third, consider temporary shade. Even something as simple as shade cloth, patio umbrellas, or a lightweight garden cover can help seedlings survive hot afternoons. Mulch is another game changer. A layer of straw, shredded leaves, or untreated grass clippings helps keep the soil cooler and reduces evaporation. And if possible, plant during the evening or on cloudy days. Giving seedlings a cool night to settle in before facing the sun can make a huge difference. Now that we've covered the basics, let's get into the veggies, starting with one of the most popular fall crops of all: lettuce. Lettuce and fall gardening go together beautifully. Many gardeners struggle with lettuce in summer because it bolts quickly in the heat. But once temperatures begin to ease, lettuce becomes one of the easiest and most rewarding vegetables to grow. Loose leaf varieties are especially beginner-friendly because you can harvest individual leaves as needed. Want a sandwich? Pick a few leaves. Making a salad? Harvest a bowlful. And the plant just keeps producing. Baby lettuce is another fantastic option if you're impatient. You can begin harvesting tender tender greens surprisingly quickly, making it one of the fastest ways to bring life back to an empty garden bed. Container gardeners shouldn't feel left out either. Lettuce grows exceptionally well in pots, window boxes, and balcony planters. If your August temperatures are still extreme, provide afternoon shade and keep the soil consistently moist. Your future salads will thank you. Next up is spinach. Spinach has a bit of a reputation. Some gardeners swear by it, others struggle every year. The secret is understanding that spinach prefers cooler weather. If your days are still sitting in the upper 90s, it may be worth waiting a week or two before sowing. But once conditions improve, spinach becomes one of the stars of the fall garden. Keep the soil moist during germination because spinach seeds can be stubborn, and don't worry if it doesn't leap out of the ground immediately. Patience pays off. Fall-grown spinach often develops excellent flavor, and many gardeners find it easier to grow than spring spinach because they're paying closer attention to watering and temperature. If you've never grown spinach before, this might be the year to change that. Speaking of reliable crops, let's talk about kale. If there were an award for the toughest fall vegetable, kale would probably win. Kale is incredibly forgiving. It tolerates cooler temperatures well, handles beginner mistakes better than many vegetables, and often tastes sweeter after exposure to chilly weather. That's one reason experienced gardeners love it. You can direct sow kale in many regions or use transplants if you want a head start. And once established, kale just keeps producing. Harvest the outer leaves, leave the center growing, and you'll continue enjoying fresh greens for weeks. For beginners, kale offers something valuable: confidence. It's hard not to feel successful when a plant keeps growing despite less than perfect conditions. Now let's move on to Swiss chard. Swiss chard doesn't always receive the attention it deserves. Unlike some leafy greens, Swiss chard handles warmth surprisingly well. That makes it especially useful during August when summer hasn't fully released its grip. Its colorful stems also make it one of the most attractive vegetables in the garden. Red, yellow, orange, and pink varieties can brighten up containers and raised beds while providing an ongoing harvest. Like kale, Swiss chard responds well to the cut and come again approach. Harvest the outer leaves and allow the center to continue growing. If you're gardening on a balcony or patio, Swiss chard is an excellent choice. And if you've avoided leafy greens because they seem difficult, this is one of the easiest places to start. Next is a favorite among impatient gardeners: arugula. Arugula grows fast. Some love full sun. Others prefer shade. Some enjoy drier conditions, while others seem happiest when the air feels like a rainforest. The same applies to soil. Blueberries are perhaps one of the most famous examples of plants that appreciate acidic conditions. Growing them in the wrong soil and they'll let you know. Azaleas and camellias are also well known for preferring slightly acidic environments. Gardenias often fall into the same category. Hydrangeas are another interesting case. Many gardeners know that certain hydrangea varieties can be influenced by soil conditions. That's one reason conversations of acidity frequently lead people back to leaves. Every beginner should grow radishes at least once. They're fast, forgiving, and incredibly satisfying. Some varieties can go from seed to harvest in less than a month. That's almost instant gratification in gardening terms. Radishes are also perfect for filling empty spaces between slower growing crops. Have a gap in your raised bed? Plant radishes. An extra container sitting on the patio? Plant radishes. Teaching a child about gardening? Definitely plant radishes. The biggest mistake people make is inconsistent watering. Dry conditions can produce woody, overly spicy roots. Keep the soil evenly moist and you'll be rewarded with crisp, flavorful harvests. Next, let's talk about carrots. Carrots require patience. They don't grow as quickly as radishes, and their seeds can take longer to germinate, but they're absolutely worth it. August planting works well for carrots in many regions because they mature during cooler weather, which often improves flavor. The biggest key is soil preparation. Carrots love loose, stone-free soil. If the ground is compacted, you'll end up harvesting twisted, forked roots that look more like modern art than vegetables. Sow seeds thinly, keep the seed bed consistently moist, and resist the urge to dig them up too early. Good carrots teach gardeners an important lesson. Sometimes the best things happen underground. Speaking of underground crops, let's talk about beets. Beets are one of the most versatile vegetables you can grow. You get roots, you get greens, and both are edible. Not bad for a single plant. Beets appreciate cooler weather, but usually germinate well in warm soil. You'll likely need to thin seedlings, since beet seeds often produce multiple plants from a single cluster. Don't throw the thinnings away either. Many gardeners use young beet mint greens in salads or sautés. And if you've only ever eaten canned beets, fresh, homegrown beets might completely change your opinion. They're sweeter, more tender, and far more flavorful. Next are turnips. Turnips may not win popularity contests, but they deserve a place in more gardens. Modern varieties can be surprisingly mild and delicious. Baby turnips, in particular, are tender and quick to harvest. And just like beets, you get bonus greens. Many beginners are intimidated by root vegetables, but turnips are often easier than expected. They don't ask for much, just decent soil, consistent moisture, and enough time before frost. If you've never grown them, consider giving them a chance this year. Now let's move to one of the easiest crops on this list: green onions, also called scallions. Green onions are the definition of low maintenance. They don't require much space, they grow well in containers, and they're incredibly useful in the kitchen. You can harvest them young or allow them to size up depending on your preference. Many gardeners even regrow them from kitchen scraps, although starting from seed or sets is usually more productive. If you're working with limited space, green onions deserve serious consideration. A single container can provide months of harvests. And honestly, having fresh green onions just steps away from your kitchen is one of life's underrated pleasures. Next, let's talk about cilantro. Cilantro has broken the hearts of many gardeners. Why? Because it hates hot weather. Planted in the middle of summer, and it often bolts before you've had a chance to enjoy it. But as fall approaches, cilantro becomes much easier to grow. Plant small amounts every couple of weeks for continuous harvests. Provide a little afternoon shade if temperatures remain high, and harvest regularly to encourage fresh growth. For gardeners who love homemade salsa, tacos, or fresh herbs, cilantro can quickly become a fall favorite. Now let's talk about peas. Peas in August? Actually, yes. In regions with long falls and mild temperatures, peas can produce an excellent late-season harvest. The key is timing. Choose fast-maturing varieties and make sure you have enough frost-free days remaining. Peas also appreciate support. A simple trellis, fence, or bamboo structure is usually enough. Keep the soil consistently moist and watch temperatures carefully. If you live in a cooler climate with an early frost, peas may not make sense this late in the season. But for gardeners with enough time left on the calendar, they're absolutely worth considering. Now let's move into transplant territory. Broccoli. For many gardeners, August is not the time to start broccoli from seed, it's the time to buy healthy transplants. This gives you a significant head start and increases your chances of harvesting before winter arrives. Broccoli appreciates consistent moisture and benefits from good spacing to improve airflow. Unfortunately, pests love broccoli almost as much as we do. Keep an eye out for cabbage worms and consider using lightweight insect netting if necessary. A successful fall broccoli harvest feels like an accomplishment. And once you've tasted freshly harvested broccoli from your own garden, store-bought versions may never seem quite the same. Next is cabbage. Like broccoli, cabbage is often better planted as a transplant in August. Healthy seedlings save time and provide a stronger start during warm weather. Give cabbage plenty of space because those small transplants won't stay small for long. Consistent watering is especially important to encourage proper head formation. And once again, watch for cabbage worms. They're persistent little visitors. Fall cabbage can be incredibly rewarding, especially in regions with cool autumn temperatures. And finally, number 15, zucchini or summer squash. But there's a catch. This recommendation only applies to warm regions with enough growing season remaining. If you're gardening in a cooler climate with frost just around the corner, feel free to skip this one. However, gardeners in warmer zones may still have plenty of time for a quick crop. Zucchini grows fast, almost aggressively fast. Choose compact varieties if you're short on space, water consistently, and pay attention to pollination. Also, watch for powdery mildew, which can become an issue later in the season. A second zucchini harvest in the fall can be surprisingly productive if your climate cooperates. Before we wrap up, let's talk about what not to plant in August. This is where gardeners often get overly optimistic. Long season crops can be risky. Pumpkins, melons, and large tomatoes started from seed are usually poor choices in many regions. The same goes for eggplant and slow-maturing peppers, unless you live somewhere with a very long, warm-growing season. Could exceptions exist? Of course. Gardening always has exceptions. But generally speaking, August is the time to think smaller, faster, and smarter. Focus on vegetables that can realistically finish before winter arrives. Because gardening isn't about planting everything. It's about planting the right thing at the right time. And that's what August teaches us better than any other month. If you are currently dealing with weeds, I have made a separate video on how to vanish weeds completely that will never come back. Watch this next.